So, hopefully he gets something running. Good morning, Tat Summit. Good morning, world. For those who don't know what this is an Iot Revolution. $35 fits inside my hand, is 4 times as powerful as the first Google servers. This is going to start a revolution in IoT. Why? If I have a fridge, and I would put a Raspberry Pi inside, I would have a smart fridge. Okay? If I would now have a prototype of Sodera. Sodera is a software-defined radio. This is going to be the Arduino of the telecom engineers. First time this is shown in public. This goes. What is this now? This can be the new form factor of a mobile base station. I'm not kidding. I'll explain it in a minute. This can be a flying mobile base station. Look up on YouTube, flying mobile base station, and you'll actually see it fly, you actually see it do calls. These are the new form factors. Okay, what we are doing is we're app enabling any smart device. So you take that Raspberry Pi, you take any other hardware, and you can put apps on there. We've open sourced a new version of Ubuntu that puts apps on top of anything. Anything can be drones, fridges, network equipment, anything else. So, yep. So, what are we offering? Snappy Ubuntu Core is a smaller version of Ubuntu, and it can have app stores, not one app store. Anybody will be able to run their own app store. That means any telco can run app stores on any type of things, like think broadband, modems, and so on. We are assuming that apps are badly written, are hostile to other apps and operating system. So we build top quality security in Snappy Ubuntu Core. And we also assume that, like, if you take one of those Raspberry Pis and you fly it to the top of the mountain, it might cost a lot of money if there's an upgrade and it destroys it. So we made transactional updates possible. We also made it super easy to create snappy apps or snaps, and hopefully if we can get this working, we can actually see it. And we allow it to be easily extended. Who are we working with? Well, this fridge is actually not the real fridge. But if you look at ChillHub from General Electric, you find that the first app-enabled fridge was demoed together with General Electric and ourselves in May on the IoT Summit. You also find Forbes writing about that one. The other day, Dell launched their IoT strategy. They launched the first IoT industrial gateway. We're on that one. You also find a next generation of switches, top-of-the-rack switches that are coming from Broadcom and others. We're working on that one. And Intel, if you do Intel Snappy, you'll see that Intel is doing our marketing. They do a lot better job than we do. And we're working with lots of others. We're working with companies like Microsoft, like Acer, like Samsung, like ARM, like the Eclipse Foundation, Amazon, and so on. Hopefully we can do a demo. In the meantime, I mentioned Sodera to you. What are we going to do with Sodera? Well, this is a prototype. I'll have an image up of what it will look like. We want to do a crowdfunding campaign together with telcos. We want everybody to be able to buy this at the final price when there's volume. So we need a little bit of subsidization so that every engineer in the world that likes to do wireless innovations can buy these things, plug them in, and come up with apps for RF. What does that mean? You will have an open source LTE app that you put on here and it becomes an LTE microcell. You can have a LoRa app and it becomes an IoT gateway. You can have radar. You can have whatever technology. Think about this drone. If I'm flying around with this on a drone, I can be flying over the ocean and using radar technology to find refugees and then putting LTE up to call home and say, I located refugees in the middle of the ocean, middle of a forest, any of those type of things. We're app-enabling drones, so automatically they can fly around the world and do things for you.
Not looking at the external screen at all.
Okay. What can the next generation of base stations as such look like? Well, anything that has a processor could be a base station. Think about a point of presence for paying. Think about a Coca-Cola vending machine. Think about an air conditioning unit, a coffee machine, industrial robots, fire alarm installations. Anything can be software enabled. Anything will be able to have software-defined radio in it. You put an app from Mr. James here, and he can get the spectrum set up for any operator. That's what we're working on. The Raspberry Pi costs $35. It fits in my hand. But we are on the good side of Moore's Law. The next one that is already sold for $2 million in Kickstarter is the chip. The chip is a quarter of the size of the Raspberry Pi, is almost as powerful, but is $9. My prediction is that in the next years, we'll get things that are smaller than a coin going towards like the $1. So you will be able to app-enable things that we don't even expect will be possible. Now, the bad thing okay. So yeah. So the bad thing is that I prepared a graph, which hopefully is going to come up. And it's about the future of the telecom industry. The future of the telecom industry doesn't look bright, people here in the room and online, because calls and SMSs are not going to give you more ARPU. And I'm not seeing a lot of new things that will, at this moment, the way you're going. What I can predict is that you are months away from a data tsunami. If those type of fridges go into people's homes and every 5 seconds tweet about the temperature, 1 million of those fridges will be 3 petabytes of data every day. What did Ericsson tell us yesterday? 50 billion connected devices. Imagine the data tsunami that's coming. If you don't quickly work on new revenue streams, that's how the curve will look like. And when you talk to us and you say, we're going to do IoT, please stop putting the SIM in the center of the universe. It's not going to be the only way of doing IoT. It will not even be the biggest way of doing IoT. As well as, like, I heard a lot of telecom APIs. I'll explain later on what the problem is with just having telecom APIs. Because you're up against IoT disruptors. At this moment, a Kickstarter campaign is finalizing in which people can buy a $150 base station and set up their own LoRa networks, independently of any operator here in the room. So, how can we help you with the future of telecom networks? Well, we're open sourcing all these great technologies so that you can use it on your CPEs to put app stores on there, on your mobile base stations, on your DSLAMs, on your CMTSs. And we also have other technologies that you'll see with James and the others later on, which allow you to also put scale-out apps. And we already have the first operators that have put mini clouds on their central offices and can deploy new services on demand for their business users. And we're the #1 in OpenStack. And there, if you're going to do telecom APIs, you also should solve the developer's problem, which is making money and running those apps. Docker is a good way for them to package it. Then they can talk to your telco APIs, and they can bring you the apps and you run it for you. Unless, of course, you want them to make a very cool app, run it on a home student server, crash that server once your customers are really happy with the app, and you get an avalanche on your call center. That's what's the problem with only pure telco APIs. So, there's 5 top telecom problems. And I think if we all work together, we can solve them all. We can generate billions of new revenues if we put app stores on everything, not only on the mobile phones. We can reduce the cost by a factor of 10, because those app stores don't only give you revenue, you can also give part of the revenue to your suppliers. And as such, what you can do in that case is they can subsidize your equipment just like you're subsidizing mobiles for your users. So your cost should go substantially down. And also, everybody that talks about like we need special hardware, the cloud is changing that. White boxes. Put apps on different boxes and combine them in new dynamic ways. Over-the-top revenue. Put apps on a DSLAM, put apps on a base station, put a spot market price on the capacity, on the storage, on the CPU that you have on your base station, and sell that. Amazon is doing that all the time. You can do those things as well. The technology is here. You just have to execute on it. And how can you eliminate churn? Because at the moment, broadband is a commodity. Well, 5 apps later, my Android and your Android are completely different. You don't want to exchange it. If I have apps on the mobile base station for parental control, on my broadband CPE, 5 apps later, I integrate those into my home, into my business. I don't want to change broadband provider anymore. It's a perfect login. And then the last thing is, I talked 2 years ago about putting apps in the network and app stores. Please raise your hand who has it in production. App stores in production. Why? Why don't you listen? Go to YouTube, you can see the video. You really want the curve to go that way? Please. We are an open source operating system. We don't solve the world, but there's very cool partners here that working all together, we can change this industry. And since it's open source, anybody can try it. You don't have to be the top procurement guy or the top CTO. You can do something and ask for permission afterwards. Be a disruptor. Start today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maarten.
Sorry. With the whole thing, I forgot. We've been working the whole day on some mini hackathons. Basically, later today, we hope that you can go to the Snappy store. No. You can go to the Snappy store, find Matrix there, install Matrix, get it on any machine in the world, and then just start using Matrix. Thank you, Matrix community.